Hey, what's up YouTube? What's going on? In today's new video, what I wanted to discuss with you guys is how your style of training or your goals per se are going to influence your spinal discs and the health of them specifically. So to give you guys an example, and I've previously mentioned this before, and I made a video where I talked about how powerlifters should never do yoga and people who do yoga should never do powerlifting. And the reason being is because if we take a powerlifter and we put them into yoga, we may start creating laxity and looseness when those powerlifters don't need any laxity or looseness. They need to be very stiff. Now, sure, they may need a little bit of mobility just to get down to the bar, but that's just enough to get to the bar, and they need to be really stiff because they need to be lifting a lot of load. In order to lift a lot of load, they have to have a stiff and stable spine in order to prevent injury, in order to lift it. But same time, moving on to someone that does yoga and gymnastics, they're very flexible and they're very mobile, and they do a lot of crazy things where they're engaging in very extreme flexion and extension based positions. But the reason they're able to do that is because they're so mobile and flexible. They don't have that stiffness from a powerlifter, because if they were stiff, they wouldn't be able to get into those positions. So to look at this though from a spinal disc model here, the thing is though, is that as we engage in powerlifting, or if we engage in yoga or gymnastics, if those are our things, those activities are going to specifically influence the physiological properties of our spinal discs. So as we continuously lift heavy weight, our spinal discs are going to adapt to that training style. And so the collagen fibers of the spinal discs are going to change, and they're going to adapt specifically for that training style and for lifting those heavy loads. Whereas on the other hand, if we're doing yoga and gymnastics, the same thing is going to happen. We're going to have adaptations to the spinal disc where we're going to alter the physiological properties of those collagen fibers in order to engage in those extreme positions that people in yoga or in gymnastics engage in. And so to give you an analogy, if we were to maybe do a muscle hypertrophy program where our goal is to build our biceps, and our goal is to just build bigger biceps. So what ends up happening when our goal is to build bigger biceps and we're doing bicep curls, we're adding load, we're adding volume, so that as we continuously do this, the muscle fibers of the biceps will increase in size. So as those increase in size, the bicep will become bigger. So in a similar way, this is what's happening to our spinal discs. So we alter the physiological properties when we do certain activities. So in powerlifting, those collagen fibers may become more thick and strong in order to accommodate for all that heavy lifting. Whereas in yoga and in gymnastics, they may become more thin, those collagen fibers, in order to accommodate for those activities, because we need more laxity, more mobility and flexibility in those activities. So where this all becomes problematic now is that if you take an athlete and you put them in the wrong program, you could start specifically influencing the physiological properties of that spinal disc, which can put them at a greater risk for something like a disc bulge or disc herniation to occur if they're doing the wrong things. And so that's an important thing to understand, and I don't think many people really look into that or even consider the spinal disc itself. And that's probably why a lot of injuries will develop in the first place. And that's why a powerlifter, using that as an extreme example, should not be doing yoga per se. Or in a yoga, someone doing yoga shouldn't be doing powerlifting, because if they go to lift 200-300 pounds, they will break and likely herniate a disc if they aren't careful, or if they do something like that. Now, at the same time, when we consider this from a recovery or rehab standpoint, it's well known that disc herniations, disc bulges don't exactly heal. And they're not something that heals per se like a fracture or a muscle strain or a sprain. And disc bulges, disc herniations, they may never heal or fully heal. Yes, healing can occur, but the problem is that because the discs are so avascular, they have very poor nutritional support. So the problem becomes is that because of that, the damage that's already done, it could take a significantly long time for them to actually fully heal. However, with that being said though, when someone has a disc herniation or a disc bulge, there could be different adaptations that can occur to accommodate the new position that it may be in. So if we had a disc herniation that is bulging out here to the right side and it's hitting this nerve root here, there could be some sort of adaptation where there may be some healing on the outside here, but the collagen is also changed if we've engaged in good movement patterns and we've followed a good exercise program. That collagen can maybe change in terms of its property to accommodate for a different kind of structural position of the disc where maybe it moves away from the nerve or the nerve root, and that may prevent one's pain, or that could eliminate one's pain over time if they continuously follow a good program and follow the appropriate exercises that they should be doing and doing things that are going to spare the spine. So that's one thing to consider, because when it comes to the spinal discs and when it comes to our bodies per se, our bodies can do a lot of crazy things, and adaptations are always occurring depending on the activities that we are engaging in. And like I said, using the analogy of the biceps, if we continuously do biceps curls all the time, our muscle fibers of our biceps are going to become larger. Biceps become larger. Same thing is going to be happening with our spinal discs, where depending on the activities we're doing, we can change the physiology of them, or that's for the good or the bad, kind of depending on the activity and what our goals are. So I just wanted to mention that, because the important takeaway from this video is be careful with what you're doing and be very selective in terms of what your goal is. You don't want to be doing everything if you're looking to prevent a disc herniation from occurring. And like I said, using an extreme example, a powerlifter should not be doing yoga. Likewise, yoga should not be doing powerlifting because of the extreme examples and how they influence the spinal disc. So, with that being said though, just keep in mind the exercises that you do, the sports that you do, the lifestyle that you choose is going to specifically influence the health of your spinal disc and your spine ultimately. So that's why it's important to maintain good spine sparing positions and avoid the mechanism of injury for our spinal disc, which may be flexion under load, or we can maybe have an end plate fracture where we're loading up the spine with a lot of weight and we have a compression based injury occurring and something like Schmorl's node develops. So just wanted to share that with you guys, because that's not something many people might think about, and just something I wanted to share. Hopefully you guys learned something from this, and if you have any questions, comments, or if you want to follow up on anything, be sure to leave a comment below. And for that, we'll wrap it up for this video, guys. I wish you guys all the best and a successful and productive day, and take care.